Roll call, please.
Yes, after all these weeks, it'd be lovely. Councilmember Amsbury. Councilmember Amsbury.
I don't see her.
Here.
I'll keep going and then we can come back. Maybe she'll hop on by then. Councilmember Huff.
Here.
Councilmember Heller.
Here.
Councilmember Blankenship.
Here.
Councilmember Iverson.
Here.
And Councilmember Amsbury.
I see her, but she's muted.
Here.
Yay!
There she is. Everyone's here.
Did she call in user 3?
All right, thank you. So we need to have the first thing on the agenda is an executive session tonight. So I know, right?
Oh, great.
So, Todd, are you able to accommodate that? By putting council and our legal counsel into a breakout room or whatever?
That Todd.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've always had to do them as a separate meeting.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking at.
Is there anybody else on the line right now?
We have 13 participants.
Correct.
Okay.
I can just kick him out.
We don't want to do that.
I know.
Chris, could we do the executive session at the end, and at that point we could remove anybody that's not in the council?
Chris, you're muted.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I think that'll work. That's fine.
Okay. If council, any opposition to that, we'll just put the executive session at the end. Right? Okay. All right. Tab A, the minutes from our previous meeting. Any questions, edits, feedback, comments, or we'd entertain a motion to approve?
I did send a message to Wendy today saying that a lot of those sentences were cut off in the minutes online. So that hope we can get that fixed so when people read the minutes, they can read all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent you the clean version. So yeah, there's something happening when it changes into a PDF and gets uploaded. But I did a PDF from my computer and it worked well. So we will make sure that the final minutes are the correct version.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes. They weren't incorrect. I just wanted to make sure the community could read them all the way through.
Okay, we have a motion and I hear a second. Was that Councilmember Amsbury?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the same sign? All right, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Tab B is accounts payable May 16 through 31. And so there were, the vouchers were there, or not the actual, all the vouchers, but the check register, sorry, is there for you to have reviewed. Any questions or comments, or we'd entertain a motion to approve the vouchers?
Make a motion, we approve the vouchers.
Okay. I heard a couple motions. So I'll take the motion from Councilmember Iverson, and then do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Was that Councilmember Huff?
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed by the same sign? All right, the motion is approved. Thank you. Tab C is payroll from May 2020. So you saw there the check register for payroll as well as the checks payable to for benefits and all that. Any questions or discussion, or we'd entertain a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any question or discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the same sign? All right, the motion is approved. Thank you. Under tab D, we provided the budget and overall financials so far for the COVID-19 expenses. And this is for information only, just so that you know where we're at and what's being allocated into COVID-19 for our spending right now. Any questions? Okay. Under tab E, we had staff reports from Light and Power, Public Works, wastewater, clerk treasurer. I don't know if anybody, Todd or Wendy or Chief, if you have anything you want to add.
Not at this time.
Did any council member have questions for staff?
I had a question. I just didn't know, with Todd, have you been having any meetings with the school or any of those other groups in the last couple months? And I was also just kind of wondering if we have any plans for grant applications or projects this year, and anything, if we do get the capital facilities plan done. I noticed that a couple payments were in there for the people working on the capital facilities plan, if we would be at a point to put in a .09 application this summer for those funds.
Yeah, everything kind of just came to a standstill for grant application right now. But I would love to apply to any grant that we can. So, yeah, so we are going to apply for, I know there's Safe Routes to School and another transportation grant that we're going to apply for. We actually just got awarded $13,000 for our park sidewalks. So through our insurance company, so we're going to start our sidewalk in the park. That's basically right off the top of my head of stuff that I know that's coming up. So eventually we're going to be going after some, hopefully Chehalis Basin funds with the help of Jaron. We also have a park plan that we're trying to finish too. So next year or the year after we can go for some recreation conservation funds for park facilities and trails and that type of thing. So
Okay.
yeah, I just said on a TIB meeting yesterday, they have a couple of things that are going to open up too that we might be able, we're going to try to get some sidewalks and around town here. So
Okay. Do you have a date when our capital facilities plan was supposed to be completed, or is it close?
it is close. I have to talk to our engineers again this week just to find out. It's basically hung up on our water system plan, which our water system plan has to go to Department of Health, but right now it's currently at the county and it's in limbo with the county waiting for them to sign off on our water system plan. So they've had it since February, I think, March. So
Thanks.
And then COVID.
Yes.
Everything is stuck.
Yeah, unfortunately, environmental health is involved in the COVID response too. So unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, so everything's just kind of hanging. And with regard to the school, the principal there, John Healy, I think that's how he says his name. We have communicated with him. We've been in touch with him. I'm going to be actually meeting with him next week. So we've been building that relationship, and we're happy to collaborate with them where we can. I believe he's newer to this school. I think he's only been here like a year or so. So we've been trying to build that relationship with him and spend some time with him. So we will definitely keep them in mind, and we want to work with them if there's any way that we can.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'll be at the school closing parade next week, waving to all the children and handing out goodie bags. So that'll be fun.
And since you brought up coronavirus funds, Mayor, so yesterday we finalized the application for the coronavirus relief fund. Today we finalized the PA 4481. Chris signed off on it. And then Todd's currently working on the CDBG CV fund also to get a grant reimbursement on that one or application in.
Awesome.
So you said,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, so did you say you just did the application or have you submitted for like a reimbursement or anything yet?
No, I won't submit for reimbursements for a while.
Okay.
We have to, they have a contract process, so we had to do all that. And I have to give kudos to Chief because he's really taking the lead on all of this and working through all this paperwork and everything. It's a lot of information, a lot of material. So very appreciative of the time that he is putting into that and helping us. So
I just knew, I didn't know if you guys saw that Commerce just came out this week with a new, no, thank you. Offered a banana. They just came out that said that in the paperwork that your FEMA match could come out of the CARES fund. So that was new just this week. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's why we haven't submitted anything because, like I said, I'm in meetings weekly and it constantly changes. So I don't want to submit something like there's gonna be redundancy and not pay off on it.
One thing I know about our chief, he's going to get us every penny that we can possibly get. He's going to maximize every potential reimbursement strategy. So I have full faith in that. I didn't see in here a legal update. Chris, did you have anything that you wanted to share, or did anyone have any questions for Chris?
No work in terms of writing, so
Okay.
at least I don't think I did.
No, I didn't see a written report. I just didn't know if you had anything you wanted to share with us.
I don't think so. That's
Okay.
what,
Awesome. All right. Any council members have questions for Chris? All right. Okay. So tab F, our COVID-19 update. You know, I keep leaving this on the agenda just so that we can discuss it. There's not a whole lot new to share, but I can tell you that the county commissioners are meeting on Friday, June 12th at 3 p.m. to vote on whether or not to apply for the phase 3 variants. At this point, they have, as Hannah put it to me in an email earlier today, since things are sort of winding down from their perspective, we are only getting situation reports, or sorry, she used the word ramped down, as we have ramped down. We're only getting situation reports if there's a change, such as a new case, or every Friday. So as of last Friday, I believe our case count was at 19 positive cases since we began testing in March. And I have not received a report since then, so we don't have any new cases in the county. I'll get a new report this coming Friday, unless they have anything to report tomorrow. So far we remain at 19, 0 deaths to my knowledge. And the city is still in emergency operation. We are preparing for phase 3 because if the county does apply on Friday, which by all indicators, they plan to do that. I do not have any reason to believe that they're not going to do that. We may know by Monday or Tuesday if we can enter phase 3. And at that point, City Hall can open. And so I worked on an executive order. I've passed it over to Chris for him to look at. He passed it back and said it looked okay to him. And basically what we're planning to do, my plan is to open City Hall from 8 to noon, Monday through Friday. We're going to open the building department from 8 to noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The community center will still remain closed. We're not going to rent that out for events until September 1 because we're still not clear about the cleaning expectations from if we rent it out, like how do we know they're cleaning it appropriately and so on? Do we have to then bring in extra cleaning and so on? So we're going to wait till September 1 before we start renting out the community center again. And hopefully we'll have a lot more clarity then as to, you know, really what needs to be done or not done. And so we will have those modified hours from 8 to noon, Monday through Friday for City Hall, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 to noon for the building permit and application center. And then all of our other buildings, of course, like Light and Power Building, Public Works Building, those are not public buildings anyway. So we have prepared signage with requesting The please wear a mask, we've posted those signs. No, people don't have to. We put masks in the lobby that are available there, hand sanitizer in the lobby. We have a sign on the outer door that says, if you answer yes to any of these questions, please do not enter. So it's like an assessing document saying if you have a fever, if you've had symptoms, if you've been exposed or think you've been exposed, and a series of questions to please not enter City Hall at all. And then we will be available by appointment. So if people need to come in outside of that 8 to noon time because they can't get here during that time, if they want to call us, we're happy to make an appointment. Or even if they knock on the door, we're gonna help people. But I felt like phasing in with a half day opening would be a good way to get started. And that way we can make sure we can kind of gauge the foot traffic and see how it's going to go. We have also worked on a strategy for how many people we can have in the lobby and how we're going to have people exit so that they're not crossing over each other and so on. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. And we are, we're the city, we're a government agency. We have to set the example, and we have to live up to the expectation that's been put out there by L&I, by the various agencies that inspect what we do. So that's the plan. I wanted to share it with everyone and see if you have any feedback on that, if you have any huge concerns about that or a real difference of opinion on it. But I feel like that's a good approach, and I just want to open the floor if you have other thoughts or feelings around this reopening.
Well, I think it's a good idea. I know that on a normal day when we haven't been closed for several months, there's not a lot of people in there at one time. But of course, it'll only be 4 hours a day at the beginning. What do you think, Wendy?
It's a really good plan. I know that it's one of those situations where we're all transitioning still. And I think as far as the employees, they were very comfortable with this plan. So it's a good place to start. Hopefully we'll get into phase 4 quickly.
I hope to. The other thing I would say is we are going to continue to encourage people to pay their utility bills online or by using the Dropbox or sending the payment in the mail or calling and processing it over the phone. We're really going to try to educate people to not come into City Hall unless they have to come to City Hall. Like if you can do what you need to do online or virtually or over the phone, we're going to encourage people to do that for the time being.
I have a question about that. About how much financially are we behind on income from the unpaid bills or the short paid bills?
Wendy has that information. We talked about that the other day. Wendy, do you want to share the accounts?
Yes. So I've been receiving the information from the utility accounts manager, Lorianne, when she does the shut-off list. So when we had that generous donation here last month, that cleared up all of the past balances for people. Wow. So instead of being 2, maybe 3 months behind, everybody was only 1 month behind that's on that list. So it actually is very, it mirrors what we normally would do. It's not an excessive amount. And then we just did shut off this week. So we have now the people that were behind in May. And so that's our first list. And then we have a few that were tapered from before. So it's not an excessive amount. I'm shuffling through my desk here to find that number because I just used that the other day.
Let me clarify. We didn't shut off any utilities. But we run the shut off list as if we were yeah, we identify what those accounts are, but we're not shutting off utilities. I just want to clarify that.
That's correct. Yeah, it's our language, our lingo, the shut off list. But we only have $2,600 left from May that's still owed. And because this is a brand new list, usually we get a lot of people throughout this week that'll pay their amounts off, but currently for June it's at a $15,000 level. So, but as I said, that slowly dwindles down as the week goes on, and then of course more coming in next week. But our customers have been making great effort trying to pay their bills. If they can't pay, the whole bill, paying a portion. So it's actually, we're doing really well.
Good. Thank you.
And we have
You're
continued
welcome.
to share the information on CCAP and LIHEAP and the different things that are available to help people. And we've had quite a few people that have been able to get some help, which is also good. So with back to the COVID-19 update, that's kind of where we're at right now. We're hoping that we'll be in phase 3 by early next week at the latest, and that we'll be moving into our reopening plan with as far as City Hall and the general public. We're very grateful that the case count stays low in our county, and I just hope to see that continue so that we can get fully open here very shortly. So, any questions on COVID-19 update? Like I said, it's not like a lot of new information, but I just want to continually inform you and keep you in the loop as to what we're doing and what's going on. And just so you know, I guess it would be our EOC. Chief Blummer is our EOC commander, and then I'm on there. Todd, Wendy, Paul Knott, Steve Randich, and Kevin from the Wastewater Treatment Center. We're all that sort of that executive level of our own little EOC here, and we continue to meet Tuesdays and Thursdays. We usually spend about an hour or so together, just making sure, going through everything, make sure we have everything, resources, so on. So we continue to do that as well. Okay, tab G, the Grace Harbor County ballot box agreement. Todd, I'm going to turn this to you. I think this was information that you had gotten.
Yeah, county reached out to us and would asked if we would put in cooperation with them, put a ballot box somewhere, a drive-in ballot box so people can drop off the ballots. We looked at several areas, and it was decided that the best place would probably be over across 3rd Street over in the parking lot over there so people can drive up to it. This is the agreement that we got from the county. So this is what we got.
So they maintain the box and do all that. We don't have to do anything other than just find a place for it.
Yeah, I think we'll pour some concrete for it, but yeah, it's pretty minimal maintenance if we have to do anything to it. So yeah, the county says it maintenance here. So
Thoughts, questions, concerns? Todd, we're seeking approval from council to sign this agreement. Is that correct?
yes.
And I do want to note, sorry, I was just going to say, I want to note for the record that my name is on the document under the county sign. So I just want everyone to be clear that this is part of the auditor's office duties. It's not part of my duties. I just signed to attest signatures. So I don't have a conflict of interest in this document. It has nothing to do with my job position, and I'm not financially getting anything out of it. So just my little
They're not
spiel.
paying you to put a ballot box in McCleary.
No.
So hey, Todd.
Yep.
I think we're putting this thing over there by that little strip mall there, right?
Yes.
From the vacant lot. My concern was, do we have a camera facing that?
We can. It wouldn't be too hard to do that. So.
Okay. Was that in the plan or no?
As far as
having a camera on that box.
Yeah, we can do. I mean, that shouldn't be an issue to do that. So.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up, Councilman Blankenship, because we hadn't thought of it because we didn't have the box yet, but that's a good idea. So that way, if anything happens to it, we can find out what happened or by whom.
The only question that I had off of that was who we would be designating to check in on the box to make sure it's not overfull.
That's all up to the county to designate for that. So
it states, where is that? City's responsibility is to notify the county if the drop box has been filled to capacity.
well, I'm going to say a police officer.
What do you think, Chief?
Sure.
I guess the question is how many ballots can it hold? Maybe we should find that out.
And we can still mail in our ballots, so they won't be everybody's.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is, we don't have a ton of voters in here. So yeah, it would probably depend. But I do know that just for you guys, for some security things too, the new auditor has put in place a few other security measures for these boxes. Just so that you guys know, there has to be so many people together to open it. And he has some different locks and things that he's configured for some of the boxes. So there has been some look into the security of those as well.
Jenna, do you know what the policy is for how often they have to pick it up?
I'm not sure how often they do. I know that, they have to be there on election night at the exact time, that the box has to close, and they have to be there to, close it and do that type of thing. So that's the only one that I know for sure they have to be there for a specific time.
I mean, it looks like a pretty large box. I don't know if I'd worry too much about it overflowing, but.
I can't see it happening, but since I was in there, I just wanted to make sure we had a plan.
Yeah.
You need a motion?
If you all would like to approve the signature of the agreement, yes.
I make a motion that we approve the agreement with signature.
Yeah, I'll second it with the assumption that Todd's going to put a camera on there.
So we have a motion and a second. Any question or discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the same sign? All right, the motion is approved. Thank you. Tab I, business relief care packages. I'm going to give the floor to Councilmember Amsbury. This is information that she put together for us, and I'd like her to be able to present it.
So I was trying to think of some way that we could help our local businesses with PPE or something that was a little bit easier than having to do a grant application. And this is something that the city of Bothell was actually doing, and I believe the Spokane County is doing this for businesses as well. This is just completely for discussion. I wanted just to bring up the idea of maybe kind of doing like business care package idea that would all be COVID PPE related. I've spoken to a couple business owners in town, and they said, that this stuff is always helpful. They have a harder time finding it through their routes for getting the supplies. And I don't think it's going to be ending anytime soon for them needing masks, them needing cleaning supplies and things like that. So I thought that it was something small, that the city could do to help those businesses. And, I went through Amazon for the business program, and I also got a quote from an Olympia business that sells office supplies, and it was, of course, more. But I found that, and again, it was hard to kind of go through the city chamber list of all the businesses because, there are changes, so I very well could have missed some or, left some in that aren't in business. Sorry, my husband's gone tonight, so I get both of the kids too. So I went through the list. I put it in an Excel spreadsheet, and I tried to go through and find the ones that were in city limits because I think that we should keep it to the ones that are in city limits. The county is going to be doing a grant application for people as well that are businesses. Our businesses can apply, other businesses can. But I was kind of trying to at least come up with some parameters to use. I'm not sure if nonprofits, if we can provide to them, because I would love to provide to the nonprofits as well that are on that list.
You're muted.
I had to tell him to be quiet. Sorry. It's hard for a 3-year-old. So that was just kind of my first shot. So down below, I had tried to even go into what was medical, what was a restaurant, in case we wanted to provide kind of some different types of PPE for those kind of businesses that require more. So again, it was just kind of my first draft. I was trying to keep it under $5,000. You know, if we added nonprofits or if we added other businesses, and again, there could be a couple on there that don't. And I also excluded ones that were in-home businesses. We could add those in, but I felt like they don't have as much of a need for PPE as businesses that are actually going to be having people in their spaces and have to follow, you know, those LNI guidelines. So it was just for discussion. And I just thought I'd see what you guys thoughts were on doing that for our businesses.
I can send you a short list by email, like Desi. She lives in Olympia now. She's not here anymore. So some of these people I know aren't here in town now.
So if you look down, the ones that I thought were still here are the ones, I think it's closer to the end of the document under, I have one that's medical, one that's restaurants, one that's services. Those were the ones that I thought, you know, my best shot of the ones that are still around and that are within city limits. And then I tried to put kind of notes next to that other list of why I hadn't put them down below. And like I said, I'm open if we can use CARES funds for nonprofits. You know, I think VFW and things like that, I'm sure that they would be grateful for, you know, getting these type of supplies as well. So
they probably could use it more since they're nonprofit.
Yeah.
So one of the stipulations in our contract, I believe, and Chief, maybe you know more about this than I do, but in my reading of it, I think that the money that comes through the CARES fund has to be used for businesses that had to close. Is that correct, Chief? Did I read that correctly, or do I have a wrong impression of that?
It depends on what fund you're looking at, Mayor. I'm not sure which one you're looking at.
So I was looking at the contract that had the attachment A that talked about what the fund's eligibility is.
19, that's the coronavirus relief fund. That's the one that we just did, just like you said, for the CARES funding. That's correct.
Right. So does it have to be that the money can be used for businesses, but it has to be that businesses were closed?
That's what I remember. I could be wrong on that. I can follow up on that.
Okay. We will check on that, but that was when I first read it, that was my impression.
The one that I work CV fund, that's for nonprofits. That's for we're affecting 8,800 that we can get money for those specific things for businesses.
Okay. So I just wanted to put that out there. I believe that the money can be used for businesses that had to close, but it's not entirely germane to this discussion, but I wanted that to be sort of just so you know that in case in the end we aren't able to help somebody because they didn't have to close.
So other than businesses that had to close, what other things can we use these funds for?
There's a list that includes medical expenses related to COVID-19, public safety, payroll. So like our police department, for example, fire department. There was some in there about acquiring resources for teleworking for people in order to make it possible for people to work from home during this time. And then there's this, as in any other COVID-19 related, like there's this bucket thing, you know. So some of it is very concise as to what it can be used for, and then there's sort of this miscellaneous thing. And I think in that case, we would have to basically communicate with Commerce and say, would this be approved or not, you know?
Yeah, and I can send council out a couple of things too that I was looking at, because they have a list of, she was listing off the eligible costs, and then they also have, which is kind of nice, a little true false eligible cost test sheet that makes it nice to use. And yeah, it says interruption caused by required closures is kind of how they list it. So, you know, that may be that they had to have been closed.
Part I'm not certain about. But we can get clarification.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I was kind of hoping that by PPE, it kind of shows that it is, necessary for COVID because people are having to do more, and I kind of feel like it's kind of a public health thing. So who knows if we can get it to swing, but.
Yep, true.
Brenda?
Yes,
Hey, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. What was the amount for the CARES?
So the information that Councilmember Amesbury put together and the quotes that she got, the total cost for the businesses that she listed was $4,564.
Yeah, but what was, I guess, the question, the amount that the city has to disperse back to the businesses?
So the city is going to be receiving a total of $53,700. That money is to help us in all areas of COVID-19 response. One of the allowable costs is to help local businesses, but there's no money designated that you have to spend on local businesses. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if we're able to afford to do a couple of things, after talking with Chief and Ben last week, I still think the idea that came up at the last meeting is a good one for public relations on buying the gift cards from the businesses and then having the police hand those out. I mean, it's a win for the businesses, and then it's also a win for the police for public relations and building good connections with the community. So that's something I'd still like to see happen with this money.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And we are still checking on if that would be allowable and how to do it. So I appreciate your bringing that back to the top as well.
And I talked to Paul Knott again, I think it was yesterday, just to double check with the fire department, and he confirmed that they're set. Right now, he said their calls are being, I guess, categorized as COVID related, but they haven't actually had any confirmed COVID calls. So he said as far as PPE and all that stuff, their guys are set, so we don't have to, I guess, worry about that as much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other thoughts on this idea that Councilmember Amesbury has brought to us?
I have the thought. So we have this list, PPE stuff, and it's for 20 businesses, right?
Ish. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How are we going to decide which businesses get what? The other thing, some of the things that are on here, these businesses probably already have available. We're in phase 2. They probably needed these things prior to this. So, for instance, like a thermometer, you would think that most businesses that are open have already purchased a thermometer. And to have this included in the package, it might, I don't need another thermometer kind of thing. So I kind of like the idea of what Bryson was talking about more so than this. Take that money, let the businesses decide what PPE equipment they need to purchase, and they can do that. If you give them a gift card of $10 or whatever, they're going to go in and spend $20 or whatever, and that's a win-win for the business as well. So that's just my thought.
Okay. Thank you.
So what you're saying, Ben, is that different businesses are going to have different needs.
Correct. And for us to put in here, a gallon concentrate disinfectant cleaner, some businesses just might want to use straight bleach and water, something of that sort. I don't think that the businesses are in need of all of this stuff. And so that's just where I'm coming from. I don't see a need for a business to have, if they've already have one, a thermometer, and we just give them this package with a thermometer in it, and they don't need it. So I would just assume they, based on the profits they get, that they just purchase what they need, because I have no idea what a business needs as far as their personal protective equipment.
I think this is a great idea, Jenna. I think the idea is good. I think Ben's point is good too. You know, like the window washing, they probably wouldn't need 300 pairs of gloves, you know, whereas the grocery store would. I think, you know, maybe gift certificates to Amazon for each of the businesses. And then they can choose whatever it is that they need for personal protective equipment. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I had even thought of, you know, just having maybe a stockpile at City Hall that businesses would be allowed to come get what they needed type of thing. And we would just track, oh, you know, they came and got, you know, 100 pair of gloves, or they got that. You know, there's lots of different ways that you can do, and I'm up for anything that helps the businesses. I just want to see something go to the businesses. And I was just trying to fit it into the CARES Act, because PPE I know is something that qualifies. So, you know, that's all I was trying to do, is I would just like something to go back to businesses, because they've all been really hurt during this time. And so by no means is this the best method. I was trying to do it with the least paperwork that was required involved, because if you have to do grants out to each of these businesses, it's a lot more paperwork than, you know, just being able to do something, you know, more simple. So I'm up for anything that helps the businesses. That's my ultimate goal. So.
Okay.
I think it's great. I think, how about if we have different ideas, we can shoot them to you, Jenna. You know, if we have some ideas on how to do this, and then you can go through them and let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to put, you know, them into a spreadsheet or something, and, you know, have different proposals that you guys have. And again, that was kind of my idea of putting them into categories of what they were, because depending on what is decided, you know, there is medical is going to have a much different need than, you know, a restaurant's going to need, and those kind of things. And as we get into these phases, yes, less is going to be needed, but, you know, all employees are required to wear masks and things like that. And so I think it's going to continue to be that type of a need for these businesses, at least for a while longer. So.
At least until they can build it into their budgets at some point in time. I think it's a great idea. I think if we all think about different ways to do this, we can shoot the ideas to you, and you can look at them and, you know, see what you think works and bring it back to us at the next meeting.
Yeah, my concern is who's going to inventory this when you start stockpiling this at City Hall and handing them out to individuals. I mean, somebody's got to inventory it to keep track of where these funds are going. So keep that in mind as well.
So we'll continue to you know, have discussion about this and get ideas for sure. And my understanding of the CARES relief funding is that it's all based on a reimbursement side. So whatever we do or whatever we spend, we're going to make sure it qualifies before we reimburse it for reimbursement. And a lot of that will be managed, you know, through our EOC team. So Chief is really the one watching all this and where we're going to apply for what funding and reimbursements and so on. But I like the ideas. All of us want to help our local businesses. We've been very mindful of them during this time. And I think that an approach of, you know, how do we do it with equity so that everyone has the same sort of support or whatever. And, you know, so I definitely appreciate any ideas, because it will help us to come to something that will be fair for everyone and equal. You know, I think that's important. And I can tell you other cities are struggling with this as well. I know the county is sort of struggling with how to do it, because a grant process is time consuming and a lot of paperwork and so on. And so other cities are also trying to think about how can we just equally across the board give everyone the same thing. And so we'll keep talking about it, and we will come to the perfect solution, I'm sure. We all are intent on helping our local businesses. So I appreciate the thought and the conversation around this. Any parting thoughts before we move on to the next agenda item?
Yeah, just one real quick.
Sure.
Would there be any way to get some clarification on if nonprofits would be eligible to receive anything?
We will ask that question. I'll make a note here and we'll get an answer on that.
Perfect, thank you.
I know nonprofits were included in PPP, so we'll see. Okay. So tab J, the Grace Harbor County Waste Management Plan for years 2020 through 2025. We received the hard copy of that in the mail this week with a sample resolution. The idea here is they will want the city to review this plan. They need all 9 cities in the counties to adopt a resolution that would approve the plan for it to be implemented and effective. So I wanted to get it to you in this packet just for information at this point, so you would have time to read it. I wanted to make sure you understand what it is and why we have it. So there was no action around it tonight. I didn't expect you to have to read through that whole thing before tonight. But probably in our first meeting in July, we will put this on the agenda with the resolution on adopting this plan. So between now and then, if you have questions or concerns, or you need information, or you want feedback, please let us know. We can get those questions and answers for you. I'm even unclear on whether or not we can provide feedback saying we don't like something and we want it changed. I don't know if that's really what they're looking for. But I'm happy to email them if you guys see something that just really bothers you or you have a question on. We can certainly get answers. And I have the contact person who emailed me tonight. And so if anyone wants the direct contacts, you can ask questions. I'm happy to give that to you as well. So just wanted to explain why it was there. I know it's a lot of pages, but in the month of July, we'll be floating a resolution to adopt this plan unless we have huge concerns coming from the council about it. Any questions that I can answer right now?
Isn't this kind of like the garbage? We've got to do it no matter what.
Sometimes I feel that way about things, like it's really not a matter of approval. It's just a matter of say yes. I don't know.
Knowing what it is. Yeah.
All right. So there'll be more information on that, but I wanted you to have it in hand so you have plenty of time to review it and get any information or questions answered that you need. So, okay. We don't have any ordinances this evening. We don't have any resolutions this evening. No contracts. I apologize that earlier in this meeting, I skipped over the public comment. So hopefully our public, if you're here, has hung in. Is there any public comment, anything that anyone on our line would like to share or be heard about? Todd, anything flagging, any hands raised, any? Okay, I don't see anything.
Well, yeah, everybody's unmuted, so yeah, I haven't heard anything yet.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments from council?
Yeah, I got a couple here, Brenda. So we didn't do the spring cleanup, and we had talked about this a couple of meetings back. What are we doing with that now? I mean, is that?
So we've been in touch with May, and they are strongly encouraging us to go with a voucher system this year, where we would mail a voucher in every utility bill so that people could take their voucher and make any one trip to the dump that they want to. We had an internal discussion just the other day about this, and we're going to look at if we can have LeMay bring out some dumpsters at some point during the summer, like maybe for 3 or 4 days or from Monday through Friday, so that our seniors around town and people that can't get to the dump, we could help like we normally do every year with the citywide cleanup. We go out and pick up for them and bring it and dump it. So we're looking at maybe like a hybrid approach this year to where we would allow the dumpster dumping. But if they had refrigerators, computers, tires, all those extra peripheral things that have to be set aside, they would have to take their voucher and take those to the dump. Todd, I don't know, have we heard any more from LeMay about scheduling? Because we've been staying in touch with LeMay about when they could schedule, and so far they still haven't been scheduling any on-site dumpsters. Have we heard any different, Todd?
I'm going to reach out to Roger and double check what's happening now. So.
Okay. So we've checked in a couple of times and they weren't ready to schedule especially a full-fledged community cleanup. And because of everything that's going on, they're encouraging that voucher system. But we are mindful that there are people who cannot get to the dump. And so we want to accommodate if we can. Answer your question?
Sure.
Okay.
I got one other thing I want to make a comment on. The other day, cell phone went out and mowed a senior's yard who was having difficulty with the hillside on his property. And I just want to give a shout out to Officer Nansen for doing that. And that was a heck of a gesture. And
Very nice.
pat him on the back for me, Chief.
That's nice.
We had also a wonderful comment about him. He has engaged with a resident who lives at Rainbow Apartments, who is also from Samoa. And apparently this person and Officer Nansen come from the same village there. They speak the language together, so they've had delightful conversations, and he's checked in on him as well. So I had great feedback, people thanking us for bringing him to our community and what a great impression he's making all around. So that's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Chief, and express our thanks to him as well.
I will.
So he wasn't mowing the lawn at the Evergreen Place, was he, there at the end of, on the cul-de-sac at the bottom? To that old guy?
Not that old guy, different old guy.
I told him to come back next week to do the weeding.
Is that where that lawn mowing was? I need to make sure I'm out mowing at the right time. Okay. Any other council comments?
Did you want us to mention something about consolidating the loans?
Oh yeah, my apologies. I think I skipped right over that. I am so sorry. Tab H, my bad. Thank you, Joy.
And the computers?
Yes. So going back to tab H, my apologies for skipping it. The city loans and the bond refinance, we had a wonderful conversation with the finance committee today prior to this meeting. And I will let them give feedback on their thoughts about this so that we can continue the next steps.
Go for it, Jaron.
Oh boy. Okay. So what we were looking at with some of the tables is that we currently have a 25-year loan. It's just over $2 million. We have something on the table that would drop that down to about 20 years with a lower interest rate. So that one feels pretty easy to recommend to the council. That, you know, both of the banks that we were looking at, that seems to be a win for the city, that we would get that lower interest rate, we would get the lower time to pay it off, and we'd still come out ahead on the yearly basis on that one. The only difference between the two banks that we were seeing is the possibility of some differences in fees with having to migrate to a new bank possibly. We do have 3 other loans that we're looking at that are, 2 of them are 10-year loans, one of them is a 7-year loan. Those, what seemed to be the most inviting from what we could see with the tables was rolling all of those into a 10-year loan that would also have a significantly lower interest rate for the 7-year, going from, I think it was 5%, 5.1%, down to 2.63-ish%.
Right.
And then that would also be lowering the 2 10-year loans as well pretty significantly on the interest rate. So altogether, just from the numbers that we were seeing, it looked like we would probably be saving about $673,000 in interest payments over those 4 loans.
Plus, we'll be saving money annually as well as we pay those loans. So what was that, about 20,000 annually? Or was it less? Was less?
13,000-ish.
Yeah,
About
13,000.
13,000. Mhm.
So we would not only be saving money over the life of the loans, but we would also be saving money annually in our working budget. So they're going to get us more accurate numbers, you know, based on what we're interested in. But that's where we are on this right now, is looking at reducing the life of the loans, gaining that interest that we're not spending and reducing the cost annually in the budget.
Sounds good.
Does that sound good to council? The other options, if we dropped down to a 15-year loan, was additional payments for the city of about $10,000 per year. And we felt like that we didn't really want to be paying more money, even though that would be reducing the life of the loan by 10 years. But that savings, if we were to do that, was a little over $800,000 over the life of the loan. But we also talked about, the committee talked about, that if we had to do an additional $10,000 in payments each year, that could impact an additional rate increase to cover that debt service. So there was a little bit of, disdain for that. So we kind of fell on that 20-year loan, which brings it down by 5 years. It brings our 45-year loan, which we now have 25 years remaining on. It brings that down to 20 years instead of 25 remaining years. It leaves the 10-year loans at 10 years. The 7-year loan does get looped into the 10-year loan, but it decreases the interest from 5 down to 2.6-ish or something like that. So if, barring any opposition, we will get solid numbers on that scenario for council to consider if that will work.
So are you talking about having it at the next meeting, these numbers? Because these interest rates are going to be changing, and the sooner the better.
We will have it, and we did schedule a meeting for a second meeting in June, so we will be meeting in 2 weeks, and we can get this, we can have these proposals together. If everyone is on board with this approach, the 20-year loan, we save money overall, we save money yearly on our annual payments, then we will get those two banks to provide us hard proposals with all the fees so you guys can see them side by side and make a decision.
They'll lock us in too, right?
I hope so.
That's one question we'll ask them, Ben.
There you go. So any other questions on that?
I just want to mention too, the feds are saying that they won't raise the interest rate until like 2022 or something like that. So
Wow,
they announced that today.
I didn't hear that. Wow.
The other thing that I talked about with the finance committee today, and you all got an email, I believe today or yesterday about this, and that is about computers. Again, this is an informational segment right here. We're not asking council to do anything at this point. The finance committee wants to have more conversation about it as well. So we're going to hold over for our next meeting, and then we'll get more information about it. But just briefly, as I shared with them, we have computers in the city from many different years. We've got some that people are using that are from 2009. A majority of our computers are from around 2014-ish. And then we have a few that were purchased in 2018. I think we might have gotten 1 or 2 in 2019. So we have quite the variety of computers here, a variety of setup and everything. And then we have some employees that do not have a computer of their own. They share a computer with someone else. One of our computers is shared by 5 or 6 different people and so on. So this is something that I've been looking at. I asked Todd to do this research. I feel like the city needs to invest in our technology, and I would like to see a streamlined and uniform computer system throughout the city facilities. So we've looked at the potential of a Dell lease. That's the information that was provided to you all. Finance committee asked us to consider doing all laptops rather than desktops and using docking stations so that everyone has mobility in case we have to work from home again. So we're going to look at that as well because that would impact some of the pricing. So this is for your information right now. This is an idea that I have had. We do want to invite your feedback and we'll have conversation about it. But just to give you that background on it and that when the finance committee can again take a look at it, then we'll have more of a conversation. So that would be at our first July meeting that we would talk more about this. We're also, in the meantime, I'm going to be finding out if there's any of this computer expense that might be covered under our COVID-19 response, in the sense that I think we had about 8 employees that did not have their own computer right now. So there might be some way that we could get some funding for that. I'm not positive, but we're going to check into it. So that's what that is all about. I know it's a lot of numbers, but I wanted to give you the background on where that's coming from and what's driving this conversation. And it's it's about the streamlining it and having everyone having the same thing so that our system is consistent across the board. It's also about security. Like right now, I do have concerns about the security of our overall system because of the varied pieces and peripherals that are hooked into it. And so I also am looking at it from that approach. So anyone have any questions at this point? Like I said, it's early. We're not ready to have a full conversation about it, but I want you to know what we're talking about and where this is coming from so that you have some time to review everything.
Did you send out an email? Because I don't think I got anything on computers.
It doesn't say computers. It says, it's from Todd. And
It
it
only went to the
says,
finance committee.
Oh, my apologies. I thought you sent it out to the council. Okay, we will send it to you. I apologize. I thought we sent it to the
I missed
council.
it.
My bad. I thought it went to the council. So we will send it to you so that you can also see it. We sent it to the committee today for them to look at.
the title on the email was inventory.
Okay, and we will forward it to you all so that you have it. So now you have the background and you get to see the information.
So Brenda, how
Yes.
many computers you're going to replace them all, I'm assuming, to Windows 10 operating whatnot.
Yeah.
So how many are we looking at?
I'm going to pull that up right now.
32.
Okay.
I'm going to forward this to everyone.
And it's just computers. It's not monitors or keyboards or anything. It's just the computers themselves. And they would come with a warranty so that if a computer blows up, Dell would replace it.
Yeah, they do come with the Dell service. And yes, we would not lease monitors and stuff like that. It's, you know, those kinds of things you purchase. Monitors last for a long, long time. This would be on towers and or laptops. So there you can see he's got it on the screen and I did forward it to everyone. It's about 32 computers. This would be for, yes, all employees would receive the same, you know, we'd all be consistent. We'd all get new computers. And there would also be, I think, 2 or 3 that are going to be equipped into vehicles so that they also have messaging access and so on that we're trying to implement here in the city when they're in the field. So nobody has to come in to get a service order. Everything would be done computerized and they would have that access in the field as well.
So
Computers would always be current instead of having computers from 2009. Every 3 years, everybody gets a new computer if we choose to go that direction.
yeah, so this is all for like laptops. These aren't desktop computers.
Some of them were, like if you look at, I know it's really hard to see, but I think the top one is a tower. Is that right, Todd?
No, these ones are the towers.
Okay, so there's the towers.
Everything else is laptops.
So then all the laptops then are going to come with cards for shooting back and forth the information.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
I think they're Verizon cards or something. Yeah.
And that price is included in this?
Yes. So I think the only one that doesn't come with them is the police departments, since they have a hotspot already equipped in their cars. So
That's what I was looking for, a hotspot.
And I think Chief, you were part of the conversation about the ones for the police department, correct?
Correct, and they're pretty tough. They're tough book computers, so they're pretty high speed. And like I'm just waiting for this one because all of our computers, it's already budgeted for us to buy computers this year. So I'm just kind of waiting for this proposal because we have 2 computers that are on their last legs, and our guys they're working for now. So.
Okay. So it will be our plan to have this as an agenda item in July. Our finance committee will have a little bit more time to look at it. We'll hone the numbers on if we did more laptops. As you can see, the towers are a bit less expensive. So, but we do want to have that teleworking capability if we need it in the future as well. So.
So we're gonna have the numbers in July because this proposal said it June.
Well, this proposal, we'll get updated numbers, like Todd can talk to him even in the next couple of days, probably. If we want to change over to more laptops and fewer desktops, he'll need to adjust that.
Yes.
So if you want to, we can try to have this on the agenda for the next meeting, the end of June. And if the finance committee is okay with it, we could have another finance committee in 2 weeks as well. Would you like to do that?
I think we need to anyway, because we want to discuss that loan consolidation.
Okay, so we can do
I think that
that.
would be best.
Okay.
So
Well,
I
every-
am worried, I am a little worried though about spending money before we know how much our revenue and some different things are going to be going down with sales tax and things, because from every other entity I'm talking to, they're all making budget cuts right now, or talking about that. And so I do, kind of want us to keep that in the forefront too, is that if we decide to do something like this, that's locking us in for this expense. And then what are we going to cut if we have to come down to cuts later on down the line? Whereas if you did like a 5-year rotation or something of computers and bought, let's say if you had 30, if you're buying, 6 a year, you're spreading that cost around too, and everyone's rotating out computers, because I don't know that everyone has to get a new computer all at once. If you did a rotation, you're spreading your budget out across multiple years, kind of like we were talking about with the vehicles, where you're spreading it out across, a full cycle. And I know 5 years is kind of a normal thing that you do for technology. So it's just kind of something to think about too, because I don't necessarily want to spend it all on this and then have to come back and say, oh no, now, we have a really big budget gap and, what are we going to do? So.
Okay, thank you for that. All right.
Do we have any forecasts as far as revenue loss due to COVID?
So we keep watching our financials around that situation, and so far we haven't seen anything significant or earth-shattering that we're deeply concerned about. I think we will certainly know more as we get farther into June, but like our property tax payment last month was right about on par as it normally is. Wendy, I don't know, are sales tax revenues still holding at this point?
They look like they were a little bit lower last month, but not what I would call significant or anything that we should be extremely worried about, but they were a little bit lower. I'm really waiting to see how the end of June is. I think that's going to be a big one to tell us how things are looking as far as the trend.
Are you guys still on, were you just getting Marches, correct, for sales tax? Because it's a couple of months behind.
We get it, well, we get the state monthly.
Is it based off of the last months, or is it based off of, because our last projections for sales tax were based off of March?
I believe that they are off the previous month.
So do we have April or do we have May?
So the one that we just deposited the first week of June was for May, is what I believe is how it is.
Okay.
More real time, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts or questions from council?
No, just a quick question. Wendy, we're basically, we're not solely based on taxes in McCleary. It's more property tax that we generate the revenue from. Not so much the sales tax, things of that sort.
The sales taxes, no, it's not the beefiest. It is definitely the property tax. But then we also depend a lot on our utility tax, from our utilities. So we have a combination, but yeah, because we don't have a large business base, that's good and bad. In this situation, it ended up being more to our favor because we're not having a great of impact as other cities that have huge bases, car lots, things like that.
So with the new store, the Dollar General, that just opened, we should see somewhat of an increase, or maybe
I
even
think that should
wash.
be, yeah,
Potentially, yeah.
definitely helpful.
Mhm.
I'm
Okay.
excited to see how that impacts us.
Looks like people stopped drinking a little bit.
Okay, so bearing in mind that we're going to have an executive session, I see that, Todd, you sent out a new invitation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that what you want us to do? So we're going to log off. Just a minute, not this second, but so wrapping up, any other final comments or questions for the council? Okay, so for the sake of any public, any of our general public that's joined us tonight, we are going into an executive session regarding an insurance claim, and it's per RCW 42.30.110, parentheses I, or sorry, 1 parentheses I. And I anticipate this executive session will last about 10 minutes. Chris, are we covered?
Yeah, I think I was gonna say 5 minutes, but 10 minutes.
Okay. I'm giving us 10 just in case. Okay,
No
so
further action. No further
One real
action.
quick,
Go ahead.
sorry, I was wanting to know, so can we then, from the executive session, can we adjourn it from that point, Chris? Is that okay?
No, you'll have to log back on and formally adjourn.
Okay.
okay.
So, no official action was taken.
Can we leave this screen open when we go to the other one?
You're asking me?
No, I'm asking Todd.
Okay, so for the sake of any general public that's on the line, some of us will be logging off out of, or leaving this meeting. We will do the executive session in 10 minutes or less, and then we will come back to this meeting to close it out. So if you want to remain on the line and wait, you are welcome to. Is that fair? So we would all, at this point, opt to leave the meeting. And then we will join back in after we have our executive session. So I have that at 7:45 on my clock. I'm going to say that we can get into the executive session by 7:47. And so we should be done with that by 7:57. Does that sound fair? Okay. Leaving
Okay.
meeting.
Did this just automatically switch over, or am I supposed to go someplace else?
You're here.
We might just have to log back into this one.
Well, I got you, so I'm on.
I'm on too.
We're in the same one,
I'm gonna
I'm
get
on.
you a Cougar fans picture though, Todd.
Is that the executive one?
but I don't think so.
How'd they get in?
I have no idea.
It's telling me that I can't get on.
Yeah, mine is too.
I'm on.
It says the meeting hasn't started yet.
Yeah, because I have to close this whole meeting here.
Can you just log in on another computer?
No,
Can
because
we just talk, or are they still on?
Same account.
Looks like we're all there.
Who's user 3 and user 6?
But we lost Chris.
The mayor.
I'm standing here next to Todd. So I think we have to close this meeting completely and then we'll come back to it.
Can you try just joining from your phone or something? Because we don't have to record it, right?
I know, but because it's the same account, it won't let him have 2 meetings running.
I turned off the other meeting.
What if we
You're
open
still
up
on this
another
one.
window?
This isn't the executive meeting?
No, it's still the main meeting.
Well, I clicked on the join meeting from the executive